Yeah, why don't we do it? I know, why don't we pull it?
You know how to use one steel Nick?
And then we
Dude, I grew up with that. Same with me.
My dad got me one.
Oh my god. My mom got me one when I was 2.
And I used, turn into it.
I play with it.
I used, like,
I'm betting.
I literally, I make fire.
They attach
Just put my hand on
my
it.
hand and the steel thing.
My mom said your hand's gonna.
And then do it here like the.
Yesterday, but guess what? I was so good.
Hey, you want some stuff?
That makes me quiet.
All right, guys. Usually what I do is I usually wait to see, like, I'll let you guys kind of figure out to pay attention, but thank you for that. So my name's Dan. I teach wilderness skills and survival skills, and I've been teaching that for about 20 years. And I teach things like shelter building and knives and traps, tracking, animal processing, medicinal edible plants. Today, obviously, I'm teaching fire. So I'm going to talk about two different kinds of fire: survival fire and Stone Age fire. And at the end of the session, we're going to rush through, like, there's weeks or months or years of information that someone can teach about fire. We have like 50 minutes, so I'm going to rush through and kind of show you guys as many different things as I can. And at the end, there's going to be an opportunity for you guys to practice with a survival fire tool and see if you guys can get something started yourselves. It'll be kind of challenging. Most of you probably won't. Some of you might. So for that to happen, there's going to be, I'm going to need to, like, feel like I can, like, trust you guys to, like, take care of stuff and pay attention. So if that happens, I'll be excited to see you guys, see what you can do. And if not, if, like, people aren't really doing that, then I'll just skip it. Okay? Does that not make sense to anyone? Okay, great. And then if anyone doesn't want, this isn't like a me being mean, but just if anyone doesn't want to be part of this or isn't interested and knows they don't want to, and they know that they'll probably start talking to their friends and being distracting, it's totally fine for you to go sit up there with your friend or whomever. It won't hurt my feelings, but I will definitely, if you don't do that and you start doing that in the middle of this, you can count on, I promise that I will call you out and make a scene of it, all right? So just know that. That's my promise. I don't have any problem with it. So if anyone wants to just skip out, it's totally fine. Just do that now. Don't wait till the middle. All right? Does that not make sense to anyone? Okay. Yeah?
What happens if a spark lands on you? Will it hurt or
It might hurt, yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to start. So we're going to talk about survival fire and Stone Age fire. So Stone Age fire is what? So human beings, as we are, have been around for about 250,000 years. And so people started farming and doing civilization maybe like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years ago. And even after that, a lot of people on Earth are still hunter-gatherers. So really for almost all human beings, 99.9% of your grandparents and when I say grandparents, I mean like great, but your relatives like way back, almost all of them, they use Stone Age fire techniques to live their lives, all right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Stone Age techniques because that's that's kind of why you're here at Outdoor Camp. You guys, like it or not, you weren't born outside and you don't live outside, and it's not like what you rely on. You can take it or leave it. So it's nice in some ways to have a warm house to go to and cars to drive in and, iPods to listen to music on. But on the other hand, you guys are up against it. If you have an interest in having your life be connected to the natural world in any way, you're the least likely to have that experience in your lives of any humans that have ever lived on Earth. So you're even less likely than me, and it's already hard for me because I live in a house and I drive around. And so for you guys being here, the reason I want to talk about Stone Age stuff is because those are your ancestors who it was just given to them. Just like you guys were given houses and cars, the ability to be connected to nature and the natural world for their spirit and their soul, that was given to them. That's not given to you guys. You guys are kind of like rocking a hard place. You guys have to find it if you want it. It's not going to be given. So that's Stone Age fire, and that's the reason why I'm teaching it. The survival fire is kind of the techniques that we've developed in the past 100 years since society and technology has gotten so that we don't need fire anymore and we can live without it. We have heated houses and all these things, which we didn't have 200 years ago. Since people don't depend on fire anymore on a daily basis, we get in situations now where, your ancestors would have been like, okay, no problem, I'll just grab this, that, and the other thing, and I'll make a fire. You guys don't know how to do that. So you get in a situation, you got to know how to make a fire because you got lost in the woods, or a storm came they didn't expect, or you broke your leg and you can't get out and you got to spend the night. So there's some things like that your life may depend on them, or really, most of you guys will never be in a survival situation. But you may be in a situation where you went camping, you got lost, you went the wrong way, now you're too far in, you got to spend the night out. Tomorrow you can walk out, but like you didn't bring a shelter, or you didn't bring matches, or whatever it is. And the difference between knowing how to do things and not knowing is the difference between like being wet and cold all night and actually like staying pretty comfortable. So it might be a difference between having a good camping trip because you forgot some things, or having a terrible camping trip because you forgot some things. All right, so we're going to mix these two things. I'm going to show you a combination of these two things, and we're going to do a demo based on that. The first thing I'm going to talk about is this Stone Age technique. So Stone Age people, they didn't want to like have to make a fire with sticks every time they got to a new camp. They wanted their lives to be as easy as possible, just like you guys. If you can ride a bike instead of walk, you'll ride a bike. If you can take a car instead of riding a bike, most people will take the car. Well, they wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to make their lives easy. So instead of making fire with sticks, they would carry fire with them. They might go on a hunt for buffalo or something, whatever, deer. And they have to go to the deer aren't going to come to them. It's not a grocery store. They've got to go find them. So they've got to go walking around, traveling each day to find food. They don't know when they're going to find it all the time. So they want to feel like once they do find it, they might be really tired. It might be really dark. It might be raining out. And the last thing that they want to spend their time doing is figuring out, like, gathering materials to make a fire from scratch. They want to just get a fire going like a lighter. All right, so they didn't have lighters, they didn't have matches, so they knew kinds of materials that would just smolder slowly over time. Like cattail. This is a cat. You guys have all seen cattail.
Yep.
And this will smolder like for hours. I could light this here and then like kind of put it out, and it would slowly smolder. And you could wrap that in some green leaves and carry it with you for hours in a backpack. Someone else is carrying a baby. Someone else is carrying weapons. Someone else is carrying food. Someone's carrying fire. All right. So I'm going to let you guys handle this. The last group I allowed them to handle. It was the first group I allowed to handle this stuff. And they did okay. So they didn't screw around with it. They didn't burn themselves. So I'm going to trust that you guys know how to not burn yourselves. And you're going to hold this, and this is going to be something that connects you to something that all of your great-grandparents used, walked around with, to make their life work. You don't have to handle it if you don't want to. You can pass it on. So my expectation is that you'll be responsible with it. You won't burn yourself, and you won't screw around with it. So we'll see how it goes with that. That's not something I have typically given responsibility to. You guys are sixth graders?
Yeah.
Yeah, so usually I've been like, I can't trust sixth graders to deal with this stuff, right? So prove me wrong, right? So the next thing I want to show you, as that's going around, what I want to talk about is what fire is made out of. So keep your attention on me until that thing gets close to you. I know it's distracting a little bit, but I want you guys to prove to me that you don't get distracted. All right? That's how I'm going to have trust in you, is how I know you're not a person who gets distracted easily. So fire is made out of three things. Or when we have a fire, we have three things. We have smoke, we have coals, and we have ash. Who thinks they know what the smoke is? What is the smoke made out of? Where does it come from? Yeah.
It comes from usually fire, but that's not the point, right?
Yeah, right. So what's it actually made out of? Yeah.
It's like compound, or where does it come from?
Yeah. What's the coals? What do you think the coals are? Let's start with the coals. So the coals. What do you think the coal is? Yeah.
The remains of the wood.
Yeah. So the coal is the remains of the wood. Trees have wood in them, and this is what the wood turns into. Okay. The smoke is not wood. The smoke is coals. So what is the smoke then? Where does it come from? If it's not wood, what is it? Yeah. No, the coals is wood. So what do you think it is? And this is a hard one. Most people don't get this. Most groups don't get this. Yeah. It's not. No, the ash is something else. Yeah. It is debris in the tree. So I'm going to, one last guess. Good. So that's correct. Half correct. So the water inside the tree. So inside the tree, you got wood and you got water. And then when you heat that water up, what does it turn into? Steam. And we can see steam. We go in a sauna, you can see the steam. And when you breathe it in, do you choke?
Nope.
No. So why? So there's another thing smoke's made out of that makes you choke. Does anyone know what the other part is? Yeah. No.
Air.
No. So the other thing that's made out of, so in trees you've got wood, you've got water, and you've got sap and other nutrients. And that sap is a hydrocarbon. That's kind of a chemical term. But basically it's like oil or gasoline. It's a hydrocarbon and it burns and it's flammable. Thanks. So,
Smells really good.
so because you guys did that, and there's probably a lot of people that wouldn't have trusted you guys to do that, right?
Yeah.
To pass that around, right? So because you guys did that, do you think I'm more likely or less likely with the next group to let them do it? More likely. And then next week, when another school comes here, do you think I'm more likely or less likely to let that school do it? Yeah. So I just want you guys to think about, like, that's the impact that you being responsible for yourself. I mean, people tell you, like, you should be responsible. You should do what you're supposed to do. And that's not real inspiring, but like when you do what you're supposed to do or when you're responsible for yourself, the impact is that other people that you never meet, that you'll never know, will get to do things and have opportunities because of that. Now, if you guys didn't do that, I'd probably be more prejudiced, like sixth graders can't handle themselves, and so I'm not going to let these guys do it. And so other kids wouldn't get to do that. And that's just a small example, but that kind of goes for everything. That's how you, by being responsible, that's how you make the world a better, more workable place. Just as an example. It's happening right now. So the next group, I will let them do it. But if they screw it up, I probably might not let the next group do it, right? So just think about that. So we got coals is wood. The smoke is water vapor, steam. The other part is when you heat up that sap and that resin that's in the wood, the first thing that happens to it is it turns into a vapor, just like the water turns into a vapor. And if you heat it up a little bit more, so now it's a vapor we call smoke. It's kind of dark. We cough on it. If we heat it up a little bit more, if we get that fire hot enough, it'll turn to a flame. It'll catch up. It'll combust. So flames in a fire are not wood burning. Wood does not give off flames. The flames are given off by the hydrocarbons that are in a tree, the sap and the resin. So that's what the flames are, the smoke that catches on fire. All right? So the last thing is the ashes. The ashes, does anyone want to take a guess at what the ashes are? So if you died today and you got cremated, this is the same thing. You would be the same thing as this. So whatever's in the ashes is in you too. So it's not muscle because trees don't have muscle. And it's not wood because you don't have wood. This is something else. It's not water. We already figured out where the water goes. All right? So what is this then? What's left that you have in common with the tree? Yeah.
Is it charred molecules or atoms?
Yes, yeah, that's pretty good. What kinds of molecules and atoms? Yeah.
Maybe like
Anyone know?
calcium.
Yeah, you got it. So almost never has anyone guessed that. So calcium is a type of mineral. So calcium, phosphorus, these kinds of things. These are the minerals that you use. Magnesium, these are minerals. And they're not flammable, they can't burn. So when we burn the wood, it turns into coals and eventually it burns out. And we turn the water vapor and the resin goes into the sky, it turns into steam or into flames. And what's left is the ashes. That's all that's left. That's what will be left of you too, because it doesn't burn. All right? So now we're going to do a demo. We're going to talk a little bit about something called a fire triangle. Some of you guys know what that is. And I'm going to do a demo, show you guys how one way of a million to make a campfire real easily. And I'm going to use a survival fire technique to do it. So who knows what, let's see, who knows what the fire triangle is? What three things do you need to make a fire? Yeah.
Oxygen.
Yeah, that's one of them, yep. Yeah, wood, or otherwise known as what?
Fuel.
Fuel, good. What's the last thing right here?
Like grass or something.
Well, that's a type of fuel. We have fuel. So we have oxygen, fuel, and yeah.
Oh, wait,
Friction, which gives you what? Heat. Yeah, so oxygen, fuel, and heat. So fire is a chemical reaction. You guys haven't taken chemistry. You'll take it in high school most likely. You guys all know what the word chemistry means, so this isn't rocket science. So it's a fire, it's a chemical reaction. So that means like without those three things happening in the same place, there is no fire. It's not possible. If I take a match and I throw it in a bucket of gas, like 100 gallons of gasoline, I throw a match in that 100 gallons, what do you think is going to happen? Who thinks it'll explode? Who thinks it'll catch fire at all? And who thinks it'll go out? Okay. So most of the time, it'll go out because the match isn't a whole lot of heat. We have fire triangle. We have heat. We have a little bit of heat. And then over here, we have oxygen. And we have the oxygen that's on the surface that's touching the gasoline. That's the only part that's actually touching the gasoline, is that surface of the gasoline. All this gasoline down here, it's not in contact with oxygen. So we have some oxygen, we have some heat, and we have some gasoline, just the gasoline that's in contact. That's not a lot going on there. Most of the time, the temperature of the gasoline, it takes the gasoline to kind of raise the temperature up enough to get it to go into a flame. That match isn't going to do it. Once in a while, it'll float just right and give enough heat over time that it'll catch fire, and it'll burn slow like a candle. But it can't explode. It's not possible because all the gasoline that you have is not in contact with oxygen. Now, if I take that 100 gallons of gasoline and I put it through a carburetor, a fuel injector, a spray nozzle, and I spray it into the world, and then I put a match on it, then what happens? Then it explodes, okay? Because now all that gasoline is touching oxygen where it wasn't before. So here's our bucket of gasoline, guys. So this here is our bucket of gasoline. Now this here, it's in contact with oxygen in 4 places. If I put a match to this, is it going to catch on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
kind of smolder.
It's probably, who thinks it's going to catch on fire? And who thinks it won't catch on fire? Okay. So this is probably not going to catch on fire. But if I do this, same piece of fuel, you think this will catch on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. So without using the word, thinking of what I just talked about with the fire triangle, and without using the words thin or small, without using the words thin or small, why is this going to catch on fire and not this? Does anyone have any idea? Yeah.
Because it's little.
Or little. You can't use the word little either. That was the other one. Yeah.
You said thin or small.
I know. You got me there.
Thin. You beat
You get a pass.
Exactly.
Smart guy.
Tiny.
Yeah.
Because it's tiny.
Oh. Well, we can keep. Well, let's not play too many jokes here, guys. We don't have much time.
Because it's fuel.
Yeah. No. So, a tiny piece of steel doesn't catch on fire. Tiny piece of stone, thin stone. So thin is not the answer. Tiny is not the answer. Small is not the answer because small stones catch on fire. So what's the answer? Why does this catch on fire and this doesn't? Yeah.
Because the big one has too much mass, you could say, and the other one has less mass.
Yeah. That's getting there. Anyone else? Yeah.
surface area.
Surface area. So this here, you got fire triangle. This is mixed with oxygen a lot better than this is. So if I take this and split it in half, I've got this much. I've got this area, these 4 spots where the chemical reaction can take place. If I split it in half, now I've got 2 more spots. If I keep splitting it, can you see how I'd end up with pieces like this? And this here, and then if I kept on doing it, I'd end up with pieces like this. So this is like your bucket of gasoline, and this is like your spray nozzle, all right? And by the way, this is kind of just a survival trick. If you're camping and you need to make a fire and someone forgot the hatchet or the axe or the thing you were counting on to make kindling or really good wood for a fire to get it started, and all you have is a knife, obviously with the knife, if I have this, I'm not going to be able to use that I can't, there's no way that's going to work, right? But there is a way that you can use it as a hatchet with a little bit of extra help. So this is called batoning. So now I've got this piece. Again, this probably isn't going to catch fire. But if I can make it smaller, it's going to work better. More mixture with oxygen. So I tap on this. And now I've got something I can work with. All right? So I can keep on doing that, keep on making it smaller. And now I've got stuff that actually is going to light up pretty easily. All right? So what we're going to do now is try and make a fire using this primitive tool that you guys passed around and some survival tools. So, yeah. If it was hot, it wasn't hot, no. Yeah, no, if it was hot, it would hurt my hand. So, I'm going to grab, I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. So I'm going to get some shavings here that I made with my knife. Now, if this is primitive environment, you can make shavings with stones. I'm not taking the time to do that, but you could totally do that. And I'm going to set this up right here. I'm going to kind of puncture it with this kind of wand I have, this lever. So you're going to see what that's for. So what I'm doing here is I'm prepping this so that it's as easy to start as possible. So now I've got some shavings. They're mixed with oxygen really well. It's like my spray. And now I'm going to take some sticks like this, and I'm going to